I like to take audiences back a little bit first. Alex, I'll start with you, right?
All
What's
right.
your earliest memory of the first Lego build that you kind of built?
My first build, honestly, was from Bionicle. I got one of the first like Victorian sets from the meal, and I actually have it here. Funny enough, this is the little guy. This is the first guy I remember building.
I
And
remember that
I've
one.
kept it this whole time because it's just been very special to me. So yeah, that's definitely one of the first ones I remember building. I do remember Tone and I, when we were younger, one of the first sets we had was the Lego Mars set. It had like this pump track with the set, and it was so fun to build and play with.
Tone, what's that kind of first memory with Legos for yourself?
Seeing Alex pull out that little build just jogged my memory. I remember us playing with that and the same Mars build with the pump. But what we did as kids, so Alex and I have two other brothers, and what we did as kids, we used to get all the toys that we had, whether it was like Beyblades, Thomas the Tank Engine, and like we
Yeah.
would combine them and create our own little like playgrounds with like wooden tracks and VHS tapes for like tunnels. We were very like imaginative back in the day.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what's the conversation like? How do we apply for Lego Masters? Who approached to? How easy of a yes was it for the other person? Talk to me about that.
Take it away, Alex, because this is all you.
Yeah, it was really, honestly, really kind of random. So what happened was that I've been slowly posting some of my Bionicle builds on my personal Instagram, and there's a particular character I made that I got to reach out from this guy named Raph, and I was like, "Oh, DM'd you about a show I'm casting," and I'm like, "What?" So I checked my messages. This guy sent me a whole paragraph being like, "Hey, would love for you to be on the Lego Master show. Like, this is the prize. Like, this is what we're gonna do." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So I looked it over, and I was like, "Okay, let's try it." And basically, we had an interview. We talked a little bit about it. At first, I wanted my wife to come on the show, but it didn't work out. So I was like, you know what? Let me ask my brother because both of us have that creative drive. And I thought, you know what, this would be great. And yeah, that was pretty much it. So we went through the Zoom process. We had a bunch of interviews. We had like these little testing builds we had to do to kind of apply for the show, essentially. So Tony and I just sat down in his house. We kind of planned out what we wanted to do. And then, yeah, we went through that process and selected us. They loved our energy, and now we're here.
For sure. And I think that's awesome, right? Because again, it's I'm sure it probably felt good, right? Being approached for work that you were doing on your own, kind of getting a little bit of recognition to be on the show. Tone, talk to me a little bit about what the conversation is like as you're getting ready to walk onto the show. You're getting ready for that first build. Was there things that you maybe worked out with one another that one person was maybe better at one thing, or were you just going to take it, competition by competition?
Yeah, so I knew Alex was gonna kill it with the technical aspects, and we had all this training behind the scenes to learn like all
Yes.
the different steps of like what is this, what is that. I don't remember them now, but I remember walking out for the first time and being like, all right, so I'm gonna handle the aesthetics, and you're gonna
Mhm.
handle the technical stuff, and then we'll just kind of like work that way.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have a build style, but I knew Alex kind of had a history with Bionicle, so we could kind of balance off each other in that way.
Mhm.
Yeah, Alex, to you, what kind of maybe shocked you early on about the competition itself?
I think the skill of everybody else, like there's so many different varying degrees where some people are builders, some people aren't, some people like dabble a little bit. I think it was just crazy how big you could really build in that time period. I think even for the first episode, we were just really excited just to kind of figure out what we wanted. And then once we kind of looked around the room and kind of figured out like, oh, like that really stands out. Like Sage and Ian's fire hydrant, like looking across the room was like, whoa, like what
That's a
are
fire hydrant. Yeah.
yeah, that was one of the first things I remember seeing. Like, oh my gosh, like what are they doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You start to see the other competition, and maybe it kind of goes there. Tone, talk to me about the time limits, right? For me as a viewer, we're watching it like in an hour, right? We're getting a condensed version of and not even like their bills in like maybe 25 minutes, really. What's the atmosphere like? Do you feel that pressure of the time, and does the time feel as long, or does it feel like a brief amount of time compared to what you're actually getting?
It kind of feels like you have all the time and none of the time.
Yeah.
Because you're really just trying to get a foundation started, and before you know it, 2 hours have gone by. And then you're starting to craft a style, and another 2 hours have come and gone. And then the hosts are coming up to you and asking you questions. The producers are coming up to you and asking you questions. Will Arnett's coming up to you and trying to do bits. And next thing you know, you have 30 minutes left. And then we have to break for lunch. So like the viewers see like the 40-minute crunch time, but there's so much that goes into like a 12-hour build, honestly.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's always interesting. Like you have 12 hours. I say I see that in like 25 minutes, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Mhm.
All right, Alex, to you here. You guys were in the bottom two, obviously episode three, right? What's the conversation like between you guys to try to maybe bounce back on that next build?
So the idea really was just to think about a strategy. We really thought about, okay, what did we do that didn't work and what can we improve on? And we realized a lot was just the planning of it. You really had to time manage what you wanted to build and also just coming up with the story of what the judges really want to see because they want to make sure it comes all together and it's
Hmm.
not like a mess in a sense. But we did our best to really pivot, take our time to really just like breathe, just draw out what we wanted to do, and then just pivot as we go.
Let's talk about this episode, right? The deception spell. You guys get that. What was the conversation like for the build initially before we dive into whatever else happened after that?
I believe we were trying to create something that embodied exactly what the judges were asking with like having a story that was like happening in the front and that was like deceiving people in the back. So we were really trying to capture like, okay, one thing's happening at the front, something else is happening at the back. And I think what got us tripped up was the technical aspect of that. Alex, do you
Mhm.
recall?
Yeah, because our first idea, we wanted to have some sort of big like mass kind of idea, and then
Right.
we switched it around. And because like again, I'm trying to work from the technical side of it, I'm trying to think, okay, how do I want our character movement to make sense? And so once I kind of figured out what that would look like, it was like, okay, cool. I think we can kind of bring this together. But I definitely feel like we struggled to kind of show that. And I think when they show the build, you'll understand like how hidden and how revealed it actually is. But once you're like really in it and you're trying to plan and process like how you want to show, it really just got to us. But we did the best with what we had.
Yeah, during the project, obviously, as you're trying to build, the judges kind of came over and gave a little bit of tidbit of advice. Um, Talk to me about what that pivot was. Like they were talking about the colors of the mask and what that does for you guys. Was that a little bit added pressure? Did that maybe affect the plan, or how did you try to pivot to kind of appease what the judges were talking about in that critique right there?
I remember us having to step back and actually take a look at it from afar to take in what they were talking about. Because again,
Mhm.
when you're working in that space, you think, oh, this looks great. But when you actually took a step back and look at the colors, we were like, okay, this is kind of like hit or miss. So I think we really tried to pivot with as much time as we had. But I
Mhm.
think based on the aesthetics we had already, it was kind of like, let's just work with what's left because I don't know how much time we got.
Yeah.
All right, so obviously, of course, being eliminated isn't fun, but how's it so far? And you haven't seen it yet, but how fun has it been watching it back those first three episodes, seeing you guys on there, seeing you guys work together, and maybe seeing some things that obviously you're in the moment, so you don't see them.
Alex, you want to take it?
Yeah, I think it was just really cool just to see like the camaraderie between us and also just other teams. I think it's really cool just to kind of see how much like other people's builds have their own style. And I think for us, once we kind of really got into our groove, I think we kind of figured out what we really wanted. I was just really inspired by everyone's builds. I feel like the best time was just like going to the brick pit and just being able to be like, whoa, like they're making something really cool. And that would also spark your own inspiration for what you wanted. I found with our first build, like I understood that I wanted to do a half pipe, but I was like, how do I get there? And I actually looked to Marcella and Krista's build, and I saw they made this curve kind of shape, and I was like, I think I could do that. And I literally just did it right then and there. And then I was like, oh, then I can put this together and that together. And so it really served like to give me more inspiration to kind of figure out what I wanted to do for other builds. And it was just really part of that process.
All right, so the final question here I got for you guys. Who do you think is going to win Lego Masters Season 5?
I think we know.
You may know. I don't know. Who do you think is going to win, Alex? You talk on it.
Ben and Michael.
Okay.
Honestly.
I
They're
am
strong.
it's a toss up for me between Ben and Michael and Corey and Rebecca. Because
Ooh,
I feel
okay.
like Corey and Rebecca have some seriously strong builds.
Mm,
And even though Ben and Michael are technically great, I do feel like they might be the team to watch out for.
Yes, I
And
guess
then
you're right.
in my heart of hearts, I would love to see Anna and Luke win, but hey, it's anybody's game.
It is at this point.